Time at WHIP studio is 12:21. You are listening to the Temple Sports Hour here until 1 o'clock. John Cole, Tom Hanslin, rolling with you until 1 o'clock. Come Stadium Talk. 2 to 3 is Temple Talks Philly. That concludes the sports block here on WHIP. Remember, the number is 215-204-9447, 215-204-WHIP. You can download us via the iHeartRadio app or listen online at WHIPRadio2U.com. And we are lucky right now. This Sunday, the Philadelphia Eagles, the 0-2 Philadelphia Eagles, go up to MetLife and take on the 2-0 New York Jets. Who would have thought it at this point in the season? A guy that's going to shed some light and give us a different perspective right now is Dom Cosentino of the NJ.com. He's the New York Jets beat writer. The Philadelphia Eagles going up to MetLife, 1 o'clock start this Sunday, sitting at 0-2 New York Jets after a really surprising victory in which they go into Indianapolis, touchdown underdog, and take down Andrew Luck and the Colts 20-7. And my question for you, what's the biggest surprise thus far in the season? The Eagles sitting at 0-2 with the fourth best odds to win the Super Bowl coming into the year. The New York Jets starting off 2-0 with two impressive victories, 31-10 victory over the Browns and the 20-7 victory over the Colts. Or the fact that Todd Bowles has such an infatuation with Gladys Knight songs as well. I caught your article the other day about how he likes her so much.
Well, I think the Eagles' inability to get any offense going on Sunday against the Cowboys probably would be the biggest surprise, in the league, if not, between, regarding the conversation we're having here. I mean, this offense with Chip Kelly and the tempo they play, the speed they play, the personnel they have, seemed like it was going to be significantly better than able to rush for, negative yards or whatever they had the other day. So I think the Eagles have kind of there's been a little bit of having them exposed, just given their weaknesses on the interior offensive line. Whether they can snap out of it, we'll have to wait and see what they do this week against the Jets.
We're talking with Dom Cosentino, who covers the Jets for NJ.com. Dom, this is Tom Hanslin. I know it's a small sample size with Todd Bowles with the Jets. I'm sure Jets Nation is wondering, is this the guy? Because we've seen the last four coaches for the Jets. They made the playoffs in their first season. Do you think it's going to be the same case with this streak so far?
It's way too soon to tell, to be honest with you. I mean, they've played two games, one against a Browns team that I don't think is very good, and the other, the Colts may turn out to be much worse than people anticipated. They've got some problems along the offensive line. There seems to be a rift between, the head coach Chuck Pagano and Andrew Luck. So, the Jets have certainly done everything they needed to do to win these two games, but it's a 16-game season, and I think it's very early to say that they're bound for the playoffs or bound to, for any success beyond the two games they've had so far.
And I wonder if that success is because of the mentality change and the atmosphere in that locker room compared to Rex Ryan's regime. Bowles seems calm, cool, and collected. Have you seen from past players a different approach to Todd Bowles' scheme compared to Rex Ryan's?
Well, they also had a significant talent upgrade this offseason. They went out and got Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie. They also added Buster Screen as the nickel corner, which I think has been the, sort of an under-the-radar addition that they've had. It's allowed them to match up against tight ends. It's allowed them to have the extra cover corner on the field at all times when teams spread them out or go to 3 or 4 receivers, which a lot of NFL teams do now. And they already had a very good front seven. So when you add the secondary to the mix, last year's secondary had nobody. There's a talent upgrade, and then it plays into they've got the exact personnel they need to sort of execute Bowles' scheme. So it's a combination of Bowles being, the tactician that he is with the talent that they've added this offseason and the depth too. They've also got some backups now in key spots. Sheldon Richardson, who may be their best defensive player, other than Revis, is suspended these first 4 games of the season, but they didn't miss a beat because they drafted Leonard Williams in the first round. So it's just a combination of all those things, I think.
Both of these teams added some depth in the secondary in this offseason. We know Chip Kelly did a whole makeover. And the big quarterback they bring in is Byron Maxwell out of Seattle, and they signed him to a multi-year deal for quite a lot of money. And he got torched the first week against Julio Jones and didn't have much success against the Cowboys, even without Dez Bryant. Maxwell did struggle in that game, and this Sunday you're looking at a guy, Brandon Marshall, who's had some early season success. He's already has 2 touchdowns in the first 2 games. He has 13 catches for 163 yards. And you have quite the opposite story for Darrelle Revis. He's been playing fantastic these first 2 weeks. As a matter of fact, he was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week against the Colts with 2 fumble recoveries and 1 pick. So tell me, the exact opposite. You're seeing Revis strive back in New York, and then you have Maxwell, who really hasn't had much success so far in Philadelphia. What do you think? Do you think Maxwell have a lot of problems this Sunday going up against Marshall?
I do and I don't. I can see that being a matchup problem, but at the same time, football is a lot about creating mismatches, and one of the things the Jets did well the other night against the Colts was they had Eric Decker in the slot for most of the game, which created a mismatch with him matched up on the linebacker. Then that began to draw coverage toward Decker and away from Marshall. The other issue with the Jets is that Ryan Fitzpatrick, their quarterback, has difficulty throwing the ball downfield. He doesn't have the arm strength that even Geno Smith had. So the Jets are not a team that's going to beat you up top, which Maxwell was getting beaten by Julio Jones with Matt Ryan throwing in the ball, or even Tony Romo or Brandon Weeden or whoever it may be. But the Jets don't have that ability really to stretch the field because of the limitations that Fitzpatrick has as quarterback. So, it's just going to be an interesting matchup to see how that plays out and to see, what kind of passes the Jets draw up. My guess it'll be a lot of quick, shorter throws, especially because Decker is likely, may not play because he's coming off a sprained knee that he sustained Monday night.
Right. I just wanted to ask you about that. What is his status right now?
He was at practice today, but again, I don't know how much he did. It sounded like they're kind of playing it close to the vest. It's one of those things that I think really could come down to being a game time decision, much like it was for Antonio Cromartie on Monday night. And
we mentioned Brandon Marshall as well with Revis. I know Revis had some groin issues yesterday. Is his status the same as well?
It would seem that way. Again, he was at practice with his helmet, but the media, is not permitted to watch practice, so I don't know how much he did. The team hasn't addressed it. Todd Bowles is expected to address it later this afternoon. We'll know more. My guess is it was more of a rest day or precautionary type thing. I think if he were seriously injured, it would have been noticeable by now. He looked fine after the game Monday night in the locker room. He looked fine in the locker room yesterday afternoon. So I don't think it's going to be anything where we're not going to see Darrelle Revis on the field on Sunday.
Joining us on WHIP right now is Dom Cosentino of NJ.com, New York Jets beat writer. We've touched on a couple of different things, and we've really noticed how it seems like the Jets, almost for most people in Philadelphia, it seems like it's a mismatch in which the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line has struggled so much in these first couple of weeks. I mean, heck, you have Darren Sproles, the leading rusher so far through 2 games, and he only has 46 yards, and DeMarco Murray with 21 attempts and only 11 yards. And we see how feared that New York Jets defensive line is. What's the biggest mismatch this Sunday for the Jets, and what's the biggest mismatch for the Eagles?
Well, I think potentially for the Jets, you touched on it. I think the Eagles, with the weaknesses that they have on their interior offensive line, going against the Muhammad Wilkerson, Damon Harrison, and Leonard Williams with the Jets front is a potential mismatch. But at the same time, I think Darren Sproles creates a potential mismatch for the Eagles because of his ability to play in space. I think that if I were the Eagles, I'm not so sure I'd run the ball up the middle, between the tackles. I try to do a lot with play action. I try to do a lot to get Sproles in space to neutralize the Jets' blitzes so that they can't bring 6 or 7 guys after Sam Bradford and that kind of thing. So I think the Eagles, with a short, quick passing game, some play action, and getting Sproles with his speed and shiftiness in space could create a potential mismatch on their part.
And that could certainly be the case with DeMarco Murray out with that hamstring right now. The Jets have 3 straight home games right now. The Philly this Sunday, and then you face the Dolphins and the Redskins. There's a chance they can be 5-0. Do you have confidence that they can run the table in that AFC East?
Run the table the rest of the season?
Yes.
Or? No.
Well, you had the Patriots in the division, of course.
Well, I think if there's a chance they're 5-0.
There's a chance, and that game next week is in London. It's not a home.
That's right.
So
I forgot about that.
And again, you take these things week to week, one game at a time. They've looked impressive so far, but I'd be really reluctant to say they're capable of running the table. Especially with the Patriots still sitting in that division. With as long as Tom Brady is walking upright, they're the team to beat in that division. So that's just the way things are right now. If they have another decisive victory Sunday against the Eagles, I might change my tune a little bit. But again, it's very early in the season. These things change from week to week. With teams all the time. You see teams in this league start off 3-4-0 frequently and not make the playoffs.
Sure.
So it's way too soon to see how this season's going to take shape for the Jets.
I want to know how the Jets fans feel about Fitzpatrick thus far in the year. It's not like he's doing too much, but he's getting the job done thus far. And as long as you keep a steady, balanced diet between Chris Ivory at the running back position and you let Fitzpatrick air the ball at around 25 to 30 times a game, Jets fans seem pretty confident in that scheme so far, correct?
Right. I mean, I think you hit it on the head. Just that they can use the running game. They can use their short passing game. They don't have to rely on him to do too much, but the biggest factor is that he hasn't made crucial mistakes, which was something that had doomed them with Geno Smith in recent years, and even with Mark Sanchez before that. So that, as long as he's not making mistakes, they're moving the ball, they're controlling the ball, they're balancing things with their rushing attack. He's kind of the perfectly imperfect quarterback to run this system.
Quickly before we let you go, it may be a stupid question because I think we all believe the Eagles are a much better team than the Jets going into the season. But if the Jets start 3-0, the Eagles start 0-3, what's more shocking to you?
It would definitely be that the Eagles are 0-3. I mean, I was one of those people who felt that, given what they had entering the season, they were going to be a factor in the NFC, to compete for the Super Bowl. And for them to be 0-3, and just given how bad they looked on Sunday against Dallas, that would really be a surprise, because then you have to begin calling into question, whether Chip Kelly, who was given the opportunity to have roster control and personnel decisions in addition to his coaching duties, is the right man for that job.
Bart Scott was on WFAN in New York this morning, and he said this about Chip Kelly. He said, quote, "He can't win because you can't replace great players and release others just because you want to." What are your thoughts on Chip Kelly so far?
I'm surprised. I do think he has a plan, and he's a bit of an innovator. But there may be, I think as this season plays out, we could see that perhaps, he's stubbornly sticking to this system that he's got, where he figures he can plug in any player and make that work. Whereas I think, at this level versus the college level, you have to have the talent in addition to the, whatever you're doing schematically to beat teams. So, the verdict's still out on Chip. He turned the franchise around pretty quickly after the Andy Reid era sort of petered out. I think last season fans were hoping for the team to progress further, and given some of the changes he's made, some of the players he's gotten rid of, he clearly had a plan, and Jeffrey Lurie and the organization believed in that plan. But he's got to start producing soon, or he could be in trouble.
Yeah, the only thing right now Eagles fans feel as if they can get saved by is Pope Francis, who will be here this weekend. Thanks a lot, Tom, for a couple minutes. One last question. Can you give us a score prediction?
I was going to save that because I published it in the weekend, but I think the Jets will cover the 2.5-point spread, but it'll be a close game.
Wow. So
at the same time, it wouldn't shock me if the Eagles got to win this week, though.
All right, so you see a close game this upcoming Sunday, though?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. That's Dom Cosentino of NJ.com, New York Jets beat writer. Thanks once again. Was Todd Bowles blasting some Gladys Knight at practice once again today?
Not today.
Not today.
We'll see if that happens again soon.
Seems like it's been good luck. Whatever Todd Bowles has been doing, tell him to keep it up, because the Jets are 2-0, Eagles 0-2. Thanks once again, Dom. All right,
thanks, Dom.
Thanks to the WHIP. Time to WHIP studio is 12:36.